morning, Joe.
Hello, Andrew. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yes. So just a quick one before we begin this lovely podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Just would you like to? Because I know this is the first time that I'm hosting you on this show.
Correct.
So maybe you can just give the viewers a brief description of who you are, your name, and just that for the beginning.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
My name is Joe Thompson.
Yes.
I am the programming coordinator here at Watertown Cable Access.
All right.
Essentially, the main aspect of my job is I oversee all three of our cable channels, our government, education, and public. I'm scheduling the live streams for government meetings, high
Right.
school sports, and any weekly events that are happening that aren't government related, and
Yes.
our weekly news show on
Right.
Watertown Cable News.
Right.
And then I also re-upload programming of previous government, education, and public channel events,
Right.
along with some volunteer programs
Yes.
and other things as that. And I also manage our closed captioning.
So for the government, you mean by the state or Watertown specifically?
The local town governments. So
Oh, that's good.
it'll be
That's good.
city council meetings and
Yes.
then like school committee meetings
Right.
and any of all the other ones that are in between that we cover.
Mhm.
We cover quite a bit of them. These
All right,
days.
all right, all right. So do you do it as a passion, or you picked it up along the way?
This is a position I started here part time as a videographer. I was
Right.
spending a lot of time like filming these meetings.
Yes, yes.
A lot of them through Zoom, other of them through like the hybrid format, which is on Zoom as also in
Right.
person.
Right, right.
And then I would say about a little over a year and a half ago, Andrea, our executive director,
Yes.
She offered me a full time position to
Right.
run the channels.
To
And
run the channel.
Yeah, I accepted it. So-
Right. So it was. I think. So it was part of your passion. So you literally wanted to be here.
Yeah,
Right.
it was an opportunity to grow, and
Yes.
I've been really enjoying it. And you
Right.
know, it's given me more responsibility. It's the first
Mm-hmm.
full time job that I've had that was in my field that I went to college for. So.
Yes, yes. All right. And so just so that you get on track and also for the people who are going to be watching, the series about this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
specifically this one, is going to be we're going to be talking about insights into the intricate processes, your personal stories, and collaborative efforts that drive local journalism.
Okay.
Right. So we shall be having a continuous memory run through of everything and anything about journalism.
Okay.
Right.
I see.
Yes. So one thing that I wanted to begin with, right?
Okay.
How does your day here at work at Watertown, WCATV, what does it constitute of from the beginning and then maybe to the end?
Okay. So like just a general day in the life.
Yeah, as a local journalist or as a news reporter.
Yeah. So for my specific job here,
Yes.
usually I'll be in around more often than not around noon.
Right. So it's a cool job.
Yeah.
huh?
So I get to sleep in a little bit, which
Yeah,
is-
yeah,
it has
yeah.
has its advantages. You know, I get to stay up a little
Yes.
later, maybe if I
Yes.
wanted to.
Yes.
But usually I'll get in around noon on
Uh-huh.
like, I'd say like during the earlier parts of the week, like
Yeah.
on a Monday, Tuesday.
Yep.
Generally not a ton going on because we're just getting started on the week, and
Mm-hmm.
any content that has been filmed and like live streamed from the previous week should ideally already have been sent to me, and
Right.
I've put it all on the channels and everything.
All right.
So like we'll say for like the middle of the week,
Mm-hmm.
generally what I do is ideally say like a meeting or a sport
Right.
was filmed like a night before or a couple days ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ideally that will show up on our on our service website that we run our channels through, Cablecast.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And then it is my job to link that edited version of the meeting, sport,
Mm-hmm.
news, whatever,
Yes.
and link it to the show ID that was found that when I made the show originally,
Right.
like
right.
the number that is attached to it is like, so this is show number 3500,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
something like that. I'll
Mhm.
remove that from the original recording
Mhm.
on that is made on the website,
Right.
and then I will add that same show ID to the edited version,
Yeah.
and that'll like process and everything, and then I upload that edited version to whatever channel it like is supposed to be on.
Supposed to be on it, right?
Yeah, I have this big like spreadsheet of what show or meeting or what is airing at specific times each day
Right.
on like all of our channels.
Yeah.
So I'll usually try to plug that in the spot that it was at previously. If say if it's like a monthly committee meeting,
Yep. Yep.
like if it's city council, we run those usually run like twice a month, sometimes once a month.
Yeah.
I have specific areas where those go, and then I will plug those into that time slot, and I'll adjust the meeting times around it accordingly. Like say if it went from like an hour-long meeting to a
Right.
2-hour meeting,
Right.
I would have to adjust everything around it by like 2 hours.
Yes. Yes.
So a lot of moving parts around and stuff like that.
Yeah. So it's more of a technical part that happens here, especially in your line of work.
A little bit. It's a fairly simple process, but it can be very time consuming.
I know.
If
I
you
know.
have- if you have
Yeah.
to like if it's like one where it's like roughly the same time
Yes.
frame as a previous one, I can just plug it in and then
Yes.
just boom, and then we're done.
All right.
But there are sometimes I try to advance out our scheduling for our programming like every 2 weeks.
Yes.
So it gets up to a point like later in the week where I'm like extending it way out.
Uh-huh.
And so that takes a little bit of extra time. And that's like my usual day-to-day stuff. There are also I'm usually trying to upload our closed captioning.
Yep.
I'll attach that to the edited video file, and
Yep.
then
Yep.
I'll
yep.
try my best to like line it up with the excuse me.
Mhm.
I'll try to line it up with the time frame of when the meeting or sport actually starts
Yep.
and ends, and then I'll be going through it and trying to edit different people's like if their last names are misspelled correctly because it's an auto-generated thing.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
if someone has like a funkier last name, like
Yes.
my last name is Thompson, so that's a
Yes.
fairly easy one to like
To
get
like
for like a
continuously
computer to like
right.
understand. But if it's someone like I don't know, like our city council Mark Sedaris, it'll be
Yeah.
like it'll usually more often than not be spelled a little bit differently than what it actually is. So I try and go in and like edit those around and stuff like that.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. That's great stuff, guys. And before we actually even continue, there's something that was on my heart that I wanted to share with the viewers. I wanted to bring them that new experience of a news reporter or someone who works in a TV station, because trust me, people have the same way you. Because I spoke to Dan
Mm-hmm.
previously, and he loves his job, especially for
Yeah.
these jobs. Everyone who works here does not just see it as professionalism, but they also love the grit in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a way you can share a bit about, even if it's just a snippet of what led you to this career path, or if you had a mentor, or if so where did your story begin?
Okay,
Right.
yeah, for sure. So growing up, I was always like a big sports fan.
I love sports.
Yeah, big sports guy. I grew
Like
up
which
in
type?
big into like the American sports, like
Yeah.
football,
Yeah.
basketball, baseball,
That's nice.
ice hockey. I've gotten into European English soccer a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
But I mean, it's like the four big American sports is like what I was
Mhm.
really into when I was a kid,
Mhm.
and that has continued on into my adult life.
Right.
And you know, I'm sure every person who was into sports at one point was like, "Oh, I'm going to be a professional athlete when I
I'm gonna go to the
when I-
Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm gonna go play in the NFL. I'm gonna be a MLB pitcher or whatever."
Yeah.
And you kind of learn very quickly that
Right.
that is not really.
It's not a thing.
It's like
not...
a less than 1% chance that you'll actually like not only make it but
Yeah.
have like a long sustaining career in that.
Mhm.
And you
Other
have to have, like-
factors being constant.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like you have to be like the top tier just to even make it to like a decent
Right.
like Division II college to be an athlete there. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I sort of shifted my focus when I was young
Yeah.
to being on the broadcasting side of
Yeah.
things. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's something that's always interested me. You know, like when you're a kid and you're watching football for the first time, you'll like see the field and then you'll see like the blue and yellow lines or
Yep.
like the people talking. You're like, oh, how do they do that? Like what's like the technology behind that? And that's something that always really interested me.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to college for broadcast journalism.
Right.
I was I did the student news. I was part of the student news team while I was there for about 2.5 years.
So like, what happens in the schools? I've never pictured a journalism school before. In
So my
America.
journalism school, like I took a lot of classes that taught us like basic video editing
Yeah,
skills.
that's what I want to know. Like, I want to know the framework of the journalism school, so that if someone just wants to do it as a niche, they'll be
Mhm.
like, "Oh yeah, he said you have to learn editing. You have to learn, let's say, still photography, something
Mhm.
like that."
Yeah, so like for my general college courses, the very basics was like teaching you how to do different videos
Yeah,
styles for like a news broadcast,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So you
yeah.
have like your different variations of what they called a VO, which is a voiceover where it's like a 30 to 45-second clips of just like B-roll,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll usually have like the news anchor talking over that, right?
Right.
And then you have a what's called a VOSOT traditionally
Yep.
VOSOT,
Yep. Yep.
where it starts with a voiceover, or it starts with the same 45 seconds of B-roll where the anchor is talking over it, and then you have a soundbite
Yeah.
where like like whoever went out and covered the story is you got like interview with somebody who is related to the story, and then they'll just have a little snippet of like their
Oh,
thoughts on whatever.
that's what they call like a soundbite, right?
Yeah, soundbite.
I've never had.
That's what Dan usually calls it, but like traditionally in like the business, it's called a VOSOT.
Okay. Okay.
And then you have what your package is,
Yep.
where like it's the journalist's job to like tell the story of what's going on. Usually, maybe like the anchor will like give a little brief intro. It's like, here there was this like event happening in Watertown Square, and this person will have this Joe Thompson has the latest on the story,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
generally it'll be a voiceover of the journalist who went out and covered the story, and then you'll
Yeah.
get interviews from ideally multiple different people, and it's usually about a minute and a half to 2.5 minutes long. If you're getting into like the bigger league things, some of those can be upwards of like 4 or 5 minutes, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
But
And then fast forward, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So on the career path.
yeah, and then so did all those classes
Mhm.
in college, and then I was helping with the student news team. We did like weekly. We did a weekly news show every.
Oh, you had a
Thursday.
student news team, right?
Yeah, I ended up being my senior year. I was the GM of it for a semester, the general manager.
Yes.
So I was like the big boss, right?
Yeah, and you know the good thing about like those student jobs is that you have like a safe space to
Mhm.
begin your maybe your pursuit.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it was a great experience at school.
Yeah. So my initial goal, and it still is my like major long term goal, is
Yeah.
to get involved in sports media.
Oh, sports media.
So I originally got into student news with the intent of doing sports, like being the sports guy.
Right.
We would, like,
right. Right.
we would go out and we'd get press passes, then we would cover different events happening around the college that I went
Yeah.
to, which was an all Division I school. So it was like I got to cover college football. I went down to Frisco, Texas, a couple of times to cover the national championship,
Yeah.
which they won both times when I was there.
Mhm.
I got to cover a college basketball tournament where the men's team like won the conference tournament, and they
Yeah.
ended up going into the March Madness college basketball tournament
Mhm.
my junior year.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the first round, they got to play Duke University,
Right.
which was a pretty crazy experience.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's what stuff I was doing initially, and then I transitioned to general manager.
Mhm.
During this time, I also in college worked part time at a actual real life news station,
Mhm.
a Fox affiliate in the town that I was at,
Mm-hmm.
and I was mostly just a production assistant behind there. So I was like running teleprompter, running audio board,
Mm-hmm.
primarily. I got a little bit of training as a technical director there, but it wasn't like anything super extensive.
Yeah,
So-
I know. It's always the cameras that I always steal. You want
Yeah.
it to go into the action.
hmm
All right.
Yeah, and then after that, like I moved back home after I graduated college, and then COVID lockdown happened, so I was wasn't really able to like apply for any
yeah,
jobs really,
yeah,
so I like
yeah.
just didn't get very far before the world shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not originally from Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I grew up in
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in the Midwest, the suburbs of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I moved here to the Boston area
Yeah.
October of 2021,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was hired here in May of 2022.
Nice.
And then I've been here ever since.
Nice. All right, that's good.
Yeah.
So it brings me to this question, right?
Yeah.
what do you what is the most rewarding and the most challenging part of your job on a normal day here,
Most challenging,
and also
the most
most exciting,
most
something
exciting.
you look up for?
I'm most excited for when like when I now that I'm full time, I'm not covering as many. I don't cover really events anymore
Yeah,
unless it's like a big like say like the Memorial Day parade that we do.
yeah,
The town does every year. We do like a live event coverage of that.
yeah.
Or like when I get to cover a meeting or help cover like football, ice
Right,
hockey,
right.
something that's in our studio, right?
Hmm.
Those are pretty fun days. I also really enjoy just like
Do you like the Thursday news?
yeah, I like doing the Thursday news,
Hmm.
especially like usually me and our colleague Victoria will
Yes.
swap every week, like being the technical director, so I get to cut the
Yeah,
cameras,
yeah,
cut to the
yeah.
different cameras, play the
Right,
video packages, stuff like
right.
that. That's stuff that I really enjoy doing.
Oh, you enjoy.
I've had a passion of wanting to be like the on camera person,
Right.
which I do still have that passion to do, but I
Yeah,
also really have a ton of experience doing behind the scenes stuff, and I've
yeah.
gotten really passionate about that. And
Right.
that's stuff I really like doing.
Yeah, because the thing about especially in this line of work is that you have to wear many hats
Yes.
to be the best at what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You must know aux cables, you must know DJI mics, you must
Mm-hmm.
know how a teleprompter works, you must know how
Yeah,
the front
definitely.
camera works, right?
Yeah, you have to know all these little intricate things that will.
Yes, and it's like tiny snippets of it,
Yeah.
and the more you do not want to add on to what you already know, is like it's always that's where you'll stop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And technology is ever evolving, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so still about you, because today I'm just trying to open up for the continuity of it,
Yeah.
and I just want people so that if anyone's like, what's this, they can go back to this video, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell us some of the key members you collaborate with in your daily work?
So I'd say I collaborate. My office space is where all of our part-time videographers are also located.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm there to make sure that if they have any questions on how to set up a live stream on Zoom,
Yes.
or if they have any questions about an editing technique, or when they're trying to edit something and something's not quite working the
Yeah.
way they want to, I can
Yeah.
give some advice.
Mm-hmm.
And I can give, when they're done editing something, I usually try and give it an initial screening before
Right.
my colleague Victoria will come in and make sure that everything is set up properly in case there's something I missed.
Yeah.
Always have someone, like a full-time staff, checking part-timers' work before it gets uploaded to the channels and stuff like that to
Right.
make sure.
Right.
Because sometimes, when you edit graphics, like say, yeah, we have like usually have a date bug in like our top right corner of like all of our government meetings.
Yeah.
And when that happens, like sometimes if you record something the night before and then you're doing it the next day, sometimes out of like instinct you
know.
put today's date.
I know.
And so sometimes it's like important to like keep note of that, and
Yes.
it's like, oh hey, you put the wrong date on that. You need to go back and like fix that.
Yes. It's like I remember when I was about to give a speech at school one time. So it was my first time going on stage,
Mm-hmm.
and the speech that I wrote was specifically to be presented in the morning.
Yeah.
So I wrote it as "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen." So we're
Oh.
late, and then I got pushed over to the evening,
Uh-huh.
and these were Max. So it was literally everyone on the line, and I was representing my team.
Yeah.
I had the worst blunder. I was like,
And-
"Good morning."
You can say what time?
I know you cannot go back. You cannot take it back.
Yeah.
So I just had to go with the flow.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, what time was it? I know it was the evening, but do you remember like what time was it?
Yes, it was like 5 p.m.
Like 5 p.m.
And I was like, "Good morning." So I will never forget something like that. And then,
Oh, yeah.
there is something that I wanted to inquire from you, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the, especially for maybe your recording events, you are doing the Thursday news, you're editing, you're running the social media platforms or any of the websites. What are some of the behind the scenes moments or processes that might sound surprising to those who are listening that happen in WCATV. For example, I know of a teacher who every morning they watch a movie with
Mm,
their students
okay.
as part of like a reward. So like, are there any surprising things that people may not know that happen here at Watertown during production or live stream or coverage?
I wouldn't say there's anything
Like
like
culture,
yeah,
so to say.
culture is there. There isn't something like having people like watch a movie or anything
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that
I know, I know.
per se. But there's like usually our getting ready for news and stuff will happen like throughout the week. Like
Yes.
usually Dan, when someone's covering like a city council meeting, he's like, "Hey, make sure you're taking notes of like some of the key things that they're talking about in the
Yeah.
meeting because we might want to use that for a story."
All right. So
Yeah.
you do take like individual notes and everything.
Yeah,
right?
the part timers are encouraged to take notes that happen throughout the meeting, and
Yeah.
or like when if you're covering a sport, say it's like with the field hockey team, right?
Yes.
When they're in the playoffs and they're cruising, you want to make note of like who's scoring goals and like.
Oh,
And
really?
I used to like when I covered sports, I would text Dan updates on like what the score is if the game, especially if the game was not live.
Yes, 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 yes.
That was like my goal was like I'll text Dan, I was like, oh hey, it's 4-0 Watertown Raiders at halftime of the field hockey game.
Yes.
Caroline Andrade has like 2 goals
Right.
and stuff like that.
Right.
And then that's somebody if we're like if they're going to like in the playoffs, you could like interview the player after a game and just like, hey, how are you feeling? And like what was like the team strategy going into this game and stuff like
All right.
that. So
That's nice. That's nice. And one more thing. I wanted to know you talked about in the beginning.
mhm.
I picked out something that you said about regarding automation of some processes during the news production, right?
Yeah.
How have you, especially right now in this current era that we're in,
Yeah.
especially us being in America, right? How have you incorporated the new AI era into your news reporting? How,
Hmm.
like, has it helped in the seamlessness of your work? Has it helped you with better research or better writing, something like that?
Um, speaking personally for myself,
Yes.
I have not used AI
Yes.
much
Yes.
in regards to what I do for the work. A lot of it is very
Right.
simple stuff that I wouldn't
Right.
necessarily say I would need AI for.
Yes.
There have been a couple times or two. Dan usually tasks me. He'll send me like a photo
Yes.
for that whatever for this week's news to like, hey, we're gonna use this as like the primary thumbnail
Yes.
that we put on our on-demand website.
Yes.
So people click on it. That's like the first thing they see. That's like one of the biggest story that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been times where like sometimes the size of the photo isn't exactly up to frame
Yeah.
with it, so I have to like size it up or like do some
Right.
things. And Dan has
Right.
showed me some tricks to do like AI generative fill, where it, like say it like
Yeah.
you see like there's enough of like space on a wall where you can like expand that wall out a bit, and it
Ah,
looks just a
that's
lot
cool.
longer.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I personally don't use AI that much.
Yes.
But I do know that there can be some good advantages to
Oh, yeah, they're
using
good. They're
AI,
good.
and like if you go about it the right way, instead of just using like AI to like write something
yeah.
like
Yeah.
completely out for
Exactly.
you. It can
Exactly.
like fill in if you're using it to fill in gaps. It's a very great tool.
Yeah, it's a very great tool, especially so we do data analysis at school,
Mm-hmm.
and AI is really like helpful.
Yeah.
But there's something that I wanted because the very first people who have really welcomed AI into their space
Mhm.
are people who are into coding, right?
Yeah.
Writing code, because now you no longer need to debug. You just show AI a picture, and it can literally correct the code,
Yeah.
right? So it's pretty cool sometimes, and because I know at a certain point AI will reach into integration with news reporting and
Mhm.
journalism, and it will be, I think, much better.
Yeah.
Right, that's good. And one one of the main reasons that I wanted to interview you, right, was because I wanted to know the part about how do you handle tight deadlines or challenges or during live stream, because the viewers need to know that live stream is very different from a recording session.
Yes.
Right? There is little room for error in live stream compared to any other post production section. Right? So how do you handle that?
So great example of something that happened last week. On Tuesday, we had our monthly city council meeting.
Yes.
It was scheduled to go live at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
because that's when the meeting was started. Well, they had an executive session that we add in that we would do record only.
Yeah.
And then we go live at 7, and then we add in the introduction to the executive session later in the meeting. But supposed to go live at 7.
Yeah.
All the streaming keys were properly put in. It was set to record everything. Look up at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
The whole screen is just dark. Right?
I know, and
no
it's
audio,
always dark.
no video, nothing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no. And I was for a couple minutes, I was furiously looking through, and I was making sure I didn't schedule the wrong stream, right?
Yeah.
And so what I ended up doing was I had one of our part-time videographers, Ben, who was covering the meeting. On Cablecast, I switched the live stream function from our hardwired connection thing. We switched it to a network stream that we do through Zoom. Since the meeting was hybrid, we had the Zoom feature too.
Yeah.
So I had Ben click live on the custom streaming service after I swapped over to a network stream, and I was able to get the stream back up within 5 minutes.
Oh, so you switched from the other one then to Zoom?
Yeah, we switched to the Zoom live streaming function.
So you're broadcasting Zoom, right?
Yeah.
Oh, come to think of it, because I think that's a nice strategy, especially I remember because now I do live stream for where I go to pray from. So it's in Billerica, so we do live stream.
Okay.
But I realized it's important to write down a contingency plan in case live stream goes nuts.
Yeah.
Because it can happen. And do you know any tips or advice for that?
It depends on what sort of system you're using, because every
live stream has its own,
it's gonna have its own functions and own systems.
Yes.
I would just always recommend having a backup fail-safe option for a live stream, just in case one goes down, you can just quick connect to something else, and then you can push it through as quickly as possible.
All right.
And another example for recordings, we here usually try and have at least 2 to 3 different recordings of everything. Say for news, we record on our Aja recorder, we record on Cablecast, and we record on our TriCaster system too. So we have 3 separate recordings that we will have, which is super helpful because there are some times where things won't record properly, and you always want to have backups to everything, and you want to have backups to the backups.
Right.
And if you're really crazy enough, you'll have backups to the backups to the backups.
To the backups.
If you'll find that when you get in this industry, some people are extremely paranoid about that stuff. You can never just want to have one recording.
Yeah. I remember there's also it's like camera etiquette in videography. Whenever the moment you are done with an event, the first thing you need to take out are the SD cards. Yep. Back them up, and then you can go on with the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is very important. And then I want to know, because the thing is, we are really, really trying to open up news reporting to state level, to city level, to the people.
Yeah.
Right? And what is it that WCATV does to engage with the community apart from just news telling or news reporting?
I think what we do really well here is outside of just news reporting, covering many different areas of local government. So we have outside of just our regular city council, planning board, zoning board, school committee, we have all these different smaller committees. We have bike and ped, community preservation, conservation commission, all these different committee meetings where they're all focusing on different aspects of what's going on in the town. And we also collaborate with the city a lot to try when there's big meetings happening. Say we've been having over the last year, this past year we've been having joint meetings between the city council and the planning board to discuss the reintroduction, like the repurposing of Watertown Square and reconstruction of it to
Yep.
and we've been pushing that since November 2023 was like when they first started talking about it, and we've been trying to air and live stream every meeting we possibly can so people are as informed about it as they can be. And it doesn't have to just be through the news. We can people can watch. We have our great plug. We have our Roku and Fire Stick app on
you do?
through the Cablecast Screenweave app. You can find us on Watertown Cable Access on there, and you have access to all of our government, public, and education programming.
Yeah.
You can see what's airing live on there, and you can go in and watch any previous government, education, or public channel programming from the last 4 years or so.
Oh, so
I'd
it's
say.
more like beyond news recording. It's also informative.
Yeah, we have all these sections of all of our previous meetings for government that you can keep. If you're looking for something specific, you can probably find something from.
Yeah. For
just
example, you
a
wanted
couple years ago.
to rebuilding the city or changing something.
Or replacing, say they a year ago they wanted to replace the turf. A year and a half ago they wanted to replace the turf at Victory Field.
Yeah.
And there was this big, huge city council meeting where it went 3.5 hours long, and most of it was the members of the public expressing we are in support of the turf, and then you have other people who are we don't want the turf.
Yeah.
We want to go back to regular grass fields because it's better for the environment. So it's you get to see so many different perspectives on that, and it's
That's
a
great.
tool that we want more people to utilize.
I know.
But, in a lot of people, just unfortunately don't utilize their local cable access
Oh,
stations
they don't.
to
They don't.
find that. All the information's there, and we are pushing hard every day to make sure that that is put out.
Guys, kindly
As we
watch
can.
the WCATV news. And then, as we're closing, I wanted to ask, what is the most memorable story you have covered that really blew your mind?
Ooh, I'd say the most.
It doesn't even need to be the most, but what's one of it?
One that I really enjoyed doing was, the Public Arts and Culture Committee introduced this sculpture walk on this little path behind City Hall that covers through a small section of the city, and they recently added more. They added these sculptures from different artists over that are along the path that people can check out and find out information of. There was one gentleman who made a bunch of gears out of cement and stacked them up in a very fun way. There was a guy who made a sort of tornado looking art piece out of catalytic converters.
I can imagine you recording it and
it was really fun to talk to each of the artists and learn about what was their inspiration behind the piece, why they wanted to create it, and what their sort of history was when why did they become a sculpture artist and things like that. And I know they added more sculptures to that walk over the summer, I believe. So
All right.
if you're walking around in the town, if you're over by City Hall, go by all means check it
By
out.
all means, right?
Yeah.
All right, and then just as we're closing, is there evolution in your line of work? Do you see progress from where you came in and to where you're heading? Is there a motive in the in news journalism according to you?
Just in general, or
Yeah. Just in general, and also in your perspective, for those of them who are watching and they want to also join that space.
Yeah.
My question is, can they join it knowing that there is a long-term thing to it?
Yeah. I think now more than ever it's never been easier to get involved in sports, in journalism in general, but I think especially in sports journalism, with the massive influx of social media and all these places to upload different content, you have an abundance of different fan run spaces where people are talking about what they want to see from their favorite teams, players, what they like, what they don't like, and it may not always be age appropriate. It's not like with traditional journalism, you have them very tight knit. They're wearing suits and they
Yep.
have to like remain unbiased. You get a
Yes.
lot of them nowadays with like podcasting and making YouTube videos and having like those fan created accounts.
Yes.
Like you have them, people who are more free thinkers and like want to speak their mind on how things are really like going.
Right.
And I think a lot of what you see with journalism in general, but especially in sports media, like everyone's trying to have like the hottest take, right?
I
That's
know.
what-
I know. Yes.
You'll
Yes.
see one and it just you're like, oh, Patrick Mahomes, he's not that good at football, and then it just like explodes, and then everybody's yelling at each other.
And everybody's yelling at each other.
Yeah,
All right, that's good. That's good. And I think we have really put light in every area that we wanted to shed.
Yeah.
You know, life as a journalist also,
Mhm.
and also this is still going out to the viewers.
Mhm.
What is any advice or a simple note for a young adult or child who is greatly interested in photography or
Yeah.
videography, anything that can steer them in the right direction will be helpful at this moment.
Yeah, I would say for anybody out there who's starting to get into like high
Yes,
school age or
yes.
like starting to figure out what they want to be as they continue to get older, I would say is like get involved as early and as often as you can, in whatever capacity that may be. Like there are a lot of people who can like join clubs at school if they have it available to them. Like at Watertown High School, they have a TV production course
Mm-hmm.
that they teach. You can learn the basics of editing there, and you can like learn how to do different shows. Some schools just offer like clubs, and it's not necessarily a class, but things like that.
Yeah.
And then just if you have the ability to afford it, if you can find a camera, you can find like
Right.
a microphone
Mm-hmm.
and a computer that can run an editing software.
Yeah.
You can just start doing things yourself and learning how to do things on your own too. If you if you don't have access to a like class or a
equipment.
club,
Right.
yeah. And I will also just say be passionate about what you do and work extremely hard at it, because the
Yes.
harder you work, the more often than not, the further you'll go.
Yeah. Especially in media production.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing that I didn't know prior to joining it
Yeah.
was that the grit, the hard work is the one that makes it all.
Yeah.
Right? It's in those moments where you need it.
Yeah, and especially there's going to be every time if you're going to be someone who wants to get into journalism, not everybody's going to be on the Today Show, like,
Yes.
right off the rip, right?
Right off the rip. Yeah.
A lot of people will start small in
Right.
a very small market, like
Mhm.
somewhere in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming, or a lot of people I know who I worked with at the news station in college, that they started. That's where they got their start in journalism, and then one person I know went to Buffalo. One person went to like South Carolina. And now they're in Minneapolis, which is a huge market. So
Yes.
it's like, it's all about like starting somewhere small to like really hone in your skills. And as the better you get, the more bigger markets you'll be able to travel to and work for.
Right. And you see the beauty of journalism
Yeah.
and production and news and live stream is that once you learn the basics, you're pretty much good to go to now. It's now all between you and your networking and the connections that you have and
Yeah.
those you're trying to offer,
Networking
right?
is incredibly important in
It's-
journalism.
it's
The more people
important.
you meet, like the better opportunities you could get done.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And I think this was really helpful.
Yeah,
Right.
this is really fun.
Yes, and also just to add on to what you said about the students that are in school and wanted to enter journalism, I know for a fact, because that's what I did here
Mhm.
when I just started into media production, because
Yeah.
I wanted to do cinematography and videography, but I didn't have the right equipment
Mhm.
and I couldn't have the money to buy it. So what I did was the schools that you're in can literally lend you equipment,
Mhm.
especially if they have studios
Yeah.
or production classes. They have, let's say, recording studios also, so they
Yeah.
can give you equipment for like 2 days, and then you return
Yeah.
it, and then you can just continue your practice from there.
Yeah, one thing I'll say for here specifically that one cool thing that we offer that I think more and more people should take advantage of. We offer
Yes.
workshops.
Oh, you're for workshop.
Yeah, so we offer that ability. You can sign up on our
Mm-hmm.
you can sign up to become a member
Yep.
of our like Watertown Cable, and you get access to like do these different workshops. You have to start with the orientation, and then you can learn like video editing, lighting, podcasting.
Yeah, because
And
that's where
then-
ours all started.
Yeah, that's where it's all started. And then like you could also like apply for internships here too.
Yeah.
But going through that, then you can become a member, and then you can reserve to use our volunteer equipment,
Yeah.
and then you can go out and film things, and you can like start doing like projects that you're passionate about.
Right.
And I think that's a really cool service that we offer, and
Mhm.
I hope to the viewers that are listening to this that they
Yeah.
have the opportunity to like look into that
Look
and
into that,
consider
right.
joining it because
Especially
it's
the
a really good
ones-
opportunity.
The ones who are in Watertown, and especially for Dan, as I
Mhm.
know, he's a really great guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, and he will help you whenever you come at any level that you
Yeah.
are. Right.
he's a very very helpful person, and he has
Mhm.
taught me a lot.
Oh, he has taught you a lot.
Yeah.
Right, because I remember, especially for the editing,
Hmm.
he's the one who introduced me to Premiere Pro.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I learned a bit, couple stuffs, right?
yeah,
Yeah, it's a really good thing to learn, to have some niche skills that you can use in your
Mhm.
daily life.
Yeah.
And stuff like
and there's a million different techniques on
Mhm.
Premiere that I have yet to learn. And
I know.
you're not gonna learn everything in just a
Right.
handful of times doing Premiere.
Yeah.
Like every time you're using it, you're likely going to be learning something new.
Right, and I think like you said, I
Mhm.
wanted to, as we're closing the show, because I'll also introduce it with Dan. I'll tell him. I wanted as to make it more special.
Yeah,
If there's, I'll begin. So it's just any tips in terms of editing or lighting or sound that you can, even if it's one that's it's a really cool feature. For example, for those of you who are into video editing using Premiere Pro, especially the ones who the DJs, right? The ones who are, let's say, recording a session with the crowds, with the people.
hmm
I saw there's a way you can just highlight all the videos and audio, and then you synchronize them,
yeah,
and then they just seamlessly integrate themselves.
hmm
So it's they're pretty cool features, especially in the media production industry.
yeah, definitely. I remember like I filmed a public service announcement that has
Mhm.
been airing on our channels for months now.
Yeah.
About announcing for the streaming app I was mentioning earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And when I recorded it, and then I started the editing process, I noticed that in my videos that I recorded, there was like this clicking sound that
Yeah.
was like happening.
Yeah.
I was like, Dan, how do I get rid of
Mhm,
that? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And he showed me this technique of like it completely like it upped my like speaking volume and it completely drowned that out.
Oh,
was very-
it ups your speaking volume and then it drowns
Yeah,
it out?
it like completely. I don't remember exactly what it was off the top of
Mhm.
my head, but
Mhm.
it like synchronized everything and it made it sound a million times better. And I was able to like make sure the volume was like perfectly set, which
Oh,
was
that's nice.
really really cool.
All right, that's nice, and I think I hope you loved your very first show,
Yeah,
and I hope it was really great for you.
when Dan approached me about it today, and was like, "Do you want to be on Andrew's podcast?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." 'Cause, a lot of my days, like I'm doing like kind of the same thing over and over. So the opportunity to like
Yes.
do something new and like
Right,
just sit down and like talk with someone for a little
Yes,
bit was
yes,
really,
yes,
really fun,
yes.
and I enjoyed being on.
and it's nice, and then also any because I realized in this industry that we're in, it's really important to be creative.
Yes.
It's really important to be creative,
Mhm.
especially in how you solve problems,
Yeah.
how you deal with conflict resolution, or how you interact with the community, how
Mhm.
you record. Because I didn't know that even as you're doing an interview, you need to have some sense of flexibility,
Yeah.
like to take in that being, right?
Yeah,
like the
definitely.
person that you're talking to, right? So thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on.
And also, this is the thing that I did with Dan. Do you have any? What's What's your favorite song right now in your mind in the week?
My favorite song right now.
Mm-hmm.
I've been listening to a lot of Tyler Creator's new album, Chromacopia, and I would say
What genre is that?
that's hip hop.
Oh, that's hip hop.
Yeah.
Oh, you listen to? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Tyler the Creator.
Yeah, Tyler the Creator. Yeah.
Ah, yes.
So, like,
yes.
It's a lot of songs
All right.
on that album that I've been listening to a lot recently, and also I know Kendrick Lamar just announced
yes,
his album.
yes, that's my
I'm
guy.
going to 2 shows on the tour that he's doing. I'm going to
Where?
I'm going to the one in Minneapolis, and I'm going to the one at Gillette in Massachusetts. So I'm
Oh,
going
when is the one in Massachusetts?
it's May 12th.
May 12th next year.
This year
May
or
12th.
2025. So
yes. I know.
Yes, next year.
In the
but
next 2 weeks.
In a couple months, like a handful, like 6 months or so.
Oh,
So,
he's coming to Mass?
yeah, he's coming to Massachusetts. He's going to be at Gillette Stadium.
Oh, I didn't know about that. So I'm gonna be I'm gonna go and then I'll search through it.
Yeah, you can try and find tickets. They're going to be.
I know they're gonna be pretty expensive.
Yeah, you had to buy them right away.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yes, and have to like book
yeah.
them pretty much right away.
Hmm.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe. And for those of you who are going to be continuing to watch, and then also I normally do this with Dan.
Yeah.
Where can people find all this information for WCATV?
You can go to our website, WCATV.org. You can have access to all of our government channel our government, public, and education channels. You
Yep.
can see them. They're highlighted on like the main page of what channels. You can find them on Comcast
Yep.
and RCN.
Yep.
And it'll lead you to our VOD website,
Right.
which you can find what's playing live on the channels right now, or you can watch previous programming.
All right. I've really done PR for WCATV, huh?
I mean, wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't plugging what I do.
Yeah, I know. I understand. All right, guys, thank you very much. See you in the next show. Have a nice day.